Okay, welcome everybody. We try to be very precise on time. That gives sharpness to the presentations as well. My name is Jaak Vilo. I'm head of the data science in here at this institute, and previously head of the entire institute. We started this data science seminar series long time ago, 2015-ish or so. This building wasn't even on paper officially yet. So this is not anything totally new. And we did a quick count. Turns out that this is the 39th occasion of what we call data science seminars. And the goal of these seminars is always, has always been to bring closer the university and the companies, and surprise, surprise, the government. And this is the meaning of the Triple-Helix concept in here. I will later in my presentation also touch upon that. But to put in very short, so these data science seminars is not only about research presentations, but opening up some topics in different domains. You can imagine that 39 times it has been different topics, from medicine to autonomous driving, high-performance computing, business process optimizations, all kinds of different domains, application areas, and we have always had about close to half of the presentations from industry. So this is really the essence, that we want to collaborate. We want to understand each other's problems, where we stand, and this is has turned out to be a very nice format for these kinds of events. So the typical audience is around 120, 150. Sometimes we have broken, I think, 300 mark. But this is how it has been always, right? Today we have a rather tight schedule, and since this is this three-way, we have also three-way presentations, focusing mostly on the state and the company needs or thinking. Some of the questions we can take later in the panel when we run panel discussion with all the presenters. So something that you want to ask from everybody, we can postpone to the last stage. And besides lectures, we will also have some surprises, some prizes to give out from the Ministry of what used to be Economic Affairs, but people moved to the Ministry of Justice and Digital Affairs. So from their side, we also publish or openly show the new textbook for universities or anybody, also the companies in data science. And we live in busy times. Yesterday we just in here also introduced our own book on the institute, some of the stories about researchers, staff of our institute. Why this is remarkable, the story of our institute, is that for those who are not local, the first digital computer was introduced in Estonia in 1959. 1959 for digital computer is rather early on. And that was a Ural computer. Apparently they produced one too many, or they produced 5 for top universities in all over the Soviet Union: Moscow, Leningrad, Kiev, Minsk. And the story is that one of them did not want to have such big computer. And then one was left unused. And then somebody figured out, hey, we know that at Tartu University, this small, tiny, remote place, they have been teaching programming already for years, for 2-3 years. And their representatives have been in Moscow also studying programming. So if we give it to them, maybe they know what to do with that computer. So that's how it started in 1959. We still have bits and pieces of that in our institute computer science museum, museum we have in the ground floor. If somebody later wants to see, we may have an unofficial tour in there as well. So with this brief introduction, I would first invite the government representation, the state authority head of AI and data science, Velsberg, who, as I just said, the entire departments moved from Ministry of Economic Affairs and Communications into the Ministry of Justice and Digital Affairs. It's too new. Digi digi in Estonian. So, Ott, you have been heading the data in Estonia for quite a while now. So please, the floor is yours.
2, 1, 2. Check, check, check. Does it work? So perfect. So Jaak already introduced. My name is Ott Velsberg, and I've been the government chief data officer now close to 6 years and a bit more. So now in a new ministry, the major change has been basically that we are now working really closely with legislation as well. But I'm not going to cover legislation, what we do on day-to-day aspects. The focus is going to be on collaboration with private sector and academia. So this goes back to early days. My own background is from private sector and academia. In both areas, I'm still kind of present. So tying those things together, that's the critical part. And as tomorrow is Estonian Literature Day, I'm going to focus, as an example, on Estonian language technology, which is going to be one of the focal topics on a government office meeting tomorrow taking place in Tartu. So that's a connection. So when we look at from the research perspective, then the key part here is we develop in collaboration with private sector, with academia. But the point was to talk about data and AI strategy, which we came out last year. And our ambition is to make Estonia a leading kind of data economy in the world. We are efficiently utilizing data in making government more efficient, but also supporting companies. And there are 3 pillars. Data to work, we make the country and the economy more efficient. AI in every corner in this country and society. So this is the point I'm going to focus on. So the objective itself on a KPI perspective is 100% of government implementation, cost savings of 425 million euros, which we calculated based on the roles that we have right now in the government, and 75% of AI uptake in the private sector. Similarly, as I'm going to focus on the language technology side, the aim is that Estonian culture and language is represented in every major solution utilized or used by both private sector and citizens alike. So that's that. But also then the third part is that we need to ensure that how we process the data, both in the government and in the private sector, is trustworthy. We measure that through surveys that we carry out. Right now, when we look at citizen trust toward government and private sector, something really strong comes out. Citizens trust the government a lot more than the private sector. And if I mean a lot more, 50% of citizens in our latest survey pointed out that they don't trust private sector with data processing. 1/3 of citizens pointed out they have not used a private sector service due to concerns over data use. So these are alarming. Those same points for the government were a lot smaller. So on a government perspective, if I remember correctly, it was like 6% haven't used, and close to 10% don't trust. So there's a stark difference. So, as I mentioned, Estonian language. We've been working on Estonian language development for a very long time. Estonian Language Institute has been spearheading this field for a very long time. But the key part is we have national program for Estonian language technology. The amount of funding we provide to private sector, to academia, to research institutions differs. In its peak, close to 2.8 million euros, on average 1.6 million euros. But the point is, most of the funding goes to various kind of external stakeholders. And I'm going to show some of the initiatives as well, but this has actually been our focus, that we are not building things ourselves. We are rather building the capacity either in Tartu University, in TalTech, via different private sector companies. So we are enabling a more stronger ecosystem. And there are also various other new directions that we are working on. So for instance, Translation Hub, again, in collaboration with private sector, with universities, language technology and language learning, again, the same thing, sign language and technology, but also for the past close to 2 years on large language models and ensuring that we have kind of language resources available that both private sector and academia can actually utilize. And here is just some of the examples funded partially or fully via the language technology program. So different processing solutions, neurokõne, also neurotõlge, Translation Hub. So there are various different initiatives that have been funded. And here is just some of the lists, again, from Tartu, as we are in Tartu, that has been carried out. So very little in terms of various core components research has been done in the government itself. And I don't see any point of doing that. Similarly, Llamas, again, developed by Tartu University. So it's really about collaboration in every sense. And I believe that we can achieve a lot more if all three fields work together. And here are just examples if someone hasn't visited. I think the most beautiful part is that we are also extending to different minority, smaller languages that otherwise don't have that level of support. So 23 of 29 Finno-Ugric languages are supported. And similarly for neurokõne. What has been some key principle for us is that if we are funding private sector, if we are funding academia, we require things are open source. Similarly, if we are talking about data, then available as open data, accessible either via our code repository or a national open data portal. So these are some of the principles that we've been requiring. Similarly, licensing terms. I remember in 2018 when I joined, most organizations didn't provide licensing terms. They either told it's open data. When asking specifically, can I use for commercial purposes, there was like, we need to think about it. Is it open data or not? Is it open software? There was no kind of concrete idea on that. Now, when we talk about AI, again, collaboration has been a key aspect. So in 2018, I remember there was kind of a lot of eagerness and interest in implementing AI in the government. Unfortunately, I saw that the level or maturity of various initiatives were quite low. So we reached out to academia, to private sector, and our proposal was, you either help government organizations to think through what is possible, what is not possible, what is efficient, or we don't fund those projects at all. So our ministry has also been responsible for ICT funding. So that was kind of the stepping stone. We introduced initiatives such as deep dives and other various formats. And through those formats, we helped organizations, again, in collaboration with the private sector, with academia, to think through if there is actually a point in doing those projects. Data audits, and the list goes on. So here is just a small overview of various services that to this day we are providing, again, involving the sectors that I have mentioned multiple times. Every year, we support over 30 different organizations. The number of initiatives is a lot larger. If we look back right now in terms of how many projects have been through such scheme, it's close to 3/4 or close to 60–70% of all projects has gone through the AI support toolbox. That's a huge number. So right now, as far as we know, we have roughly 170 AI use cases in the central government. So that's a large number. Similarly, exchanging experiences, best practices, also supporting academia that we have enough skilled people in the workforce, carrying out different trainings, but also supporting new companies. So for instance, Texta, which some of you might know, again, funded in its early days by the ministry. And just to give you an example, this model has been utilized in various places in the government. So topic tagging for customer support, topic detection from books, document registry audit and GDPR compliance checker, automatic de-identification of judicial decisions, and the list goes on. So one tool that has been implemented in various different places. But now the focus is also, I mentioned, that Estonian language and culture is represented in every major LLM. So maybe the biggest win so far has been Meta, who last year made the decision that they are integrating Estonian language corpora into their training material. But those collaborations with larger companies, they take a lot of time, to be honest. Similarly, earlier, we've been collaborating with Google Translate, Google Maps, and so forth, ensuring that Estonian, for instance, addresses are represented correctly. During the COVID, Google Translate made a bit of an improvement that some of might have noticed, but they, again, included all the materials that we provided, either produced by the government, by the academia, but also by the European Commission and others. And similarly, fruitful collaboration has been taking place with Microsoft as well. When talking about where it is difficult, so our larger vision is that all major operational systems are also available in Estonian. So iOS, Apple, has been tremendously difficult. They really don't have any interest in Estonian. But it's the same with most companies. The Estonian market is so small, so we need to contribute everyone that if they finally pick up the phone, then we have everything that they need. So Estonian language is better represented. We also came out with a digital testbed framework. This happened during the final year of my previous colleague, Siim Sikkut, who was our government chief information officer. And the digital testbed framework, it was a new collaboration form to enable startups, scale-ups to test out their solutions in Estonia, utilizing government held data, tech stack. For whom? As I mentioned, And how does it work? Basically, the idea was it was really simple, no red tape. We didn't want sales pitch, so it was instead enabling to test out. We got over 80 different proposals. And we provided feedback to those initiatives that we decided to go forward with. I'm just going to jump forward. Similarly, involving the different frameworks, providing support to organizations, companies via AIRE, which again, universities are represented. But also, we've been working on various Gaggle competitions. I can say out that in the coming months, hopefully, we'll launch our kind of third Gaggle competition. This time, the award will be close to 90,000 euros. So 3 different competitions, and everyone can participate, hopefully from here as well. And here is our first competition that we did, drinking water quality prediction, and there were other 4. And similarly, we are looking into making government health data, which otherwise contains sensitive data, available to everyone. Right now, as part of the data economy side, we are working on making employment or salary information available for the whole of public sector first, and then extending, hopefully, to whole of Estonia, so everyone has fair access to data. So, in short, innovation happens in collaboration. I feel that there is a lot more that we can do, but I see we are moving in the right direction. But what has been difficult over those years is finding the alignment. Everyone has their own specific interests, finding what is common in doing that. So looking forward for the panel as well. And if anyone has any questions, happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll go first. Hello. Thank you very much for this very comprehensive overview. I really was happy to hear that our people trust government a lot. One recent research paper said that in the UK, for example, it's completely the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but my question is about AI projects. Why do you think majority of this novel AI projects stay in the POC state? What shall we do to change that?
So the major issue with staying at the POC level is actually there is no ownership past the initial project itself. So if something even works out, the processes itself either don't change or they are not integrated to the wider system. So they are basically standalone systems. The second thing is we still see that in those cases that we are utilizing as expert systems, for instance, people really don't trust the expert system itself. So people have their gut feeling that we try to actually tackle, but they don't trust. That's kind of the second. It's an organizational question, really. So I've seen many great projects that during the POC showed basically the return on investments was like 400, 500%. If it was a private sector, it would be instantaneously implemented. But in the government, it's like, okay, where do we find administrative costs? Where do we cover people? Can we find someone who is going to be a product owner in that sense? So in those cases, things are just ditched because we cannot increase the central government workforce. So basically, it's someone's additional job. And then you need to find kind of where you are going to cover reoccurring costs from your, anyways, limited budget that is being cut basically during those 6 years on and on. So that's what I'm seeing from various organizations.
You said that half of the people do not trust companies with the data.
Yes.
Half of the people do not trust their banks? Or what was the phrasing of the question?
No. So we were asking in terms of, do you trust private sector with handling your data? So that was the questioning part.
Okay, okay. It's nice that you showed this language technology program. I happen to be 10 years heading that program committee, actually. And indeed, it started from the relatively low point where people were kind of thinking that maybe even the research is not of sufficient quality. But there were three things, really, that data had to be there, data resources, new technologies, and applications. So from the beginning, it was like, let's try to get some applications. And I think it's so crucial that governments set the tone to the, yes, we have some pockets, we can hand out some money, but we also set the terms, that they have to be open, public, commercializable, and for Estonian language, this is, I totally agree that this is the only way, otherwise these 1 million people would not be sufficient for any market forces. You wanted to ask?
Thank you for your talk. At the beginning of your speech, you claimed one of the goals is to make Estonia one of the world's leader in data, digital technologies, and AI. What would you say are the main obstacles on this course? Like, are there any structural problems on the level of the country or the EU or in general?
So the major issue that we right now face is definitely skilled workforce. If we look back during the last couple of years, the employment in data-related kind of roles has grown on average 3%. But we do know that, for instance, in the government, 1/3 of data analysts' positions are unfulfilled. So you have funding, you have positions, but you literally cannot find skilled people. So that's one side. Similarly, OSCA and other studies have brought out the same issue. The demand is higher. I remember in 2018-19, when I started to discuss about the data science master's degree program, I had very nice discussions with our Minister of Education and Research back then, who told they don't believe that extra funding is needed for that particular area, and we need a specific kind of program. So I think we have lagged a couple of years. Luckily, we funded the program itself, but skilled workforce, that's one side. People oftentimes like to point out legislation, but I think legislation is not itself a problem if it's done right. Right now, the issue is that from the Europe, we are bombarded with different regulatory burdens, and it's really difficult to digest all of that, not only for the government, but rather for the private sector. So the landscape itself is getting more and more complex. I don't know how companies can actually chew through all of that. So you have Data Act, you have Data Governance Act, you have AI Act, and the list goes on. So you have so many different requirements that you need to be aware of. And if you look at from an AI perspective, again, the cost differs, but running from 150,000 to 300,000 for AI Act compliance, this is going to kill our small and medium companies if it's going to be true. So what we've been now doing is we try to make it as simple for companies to ensure that they are compliant with the regulation and support private sector. So we are right now in midst of also internal discussions, what role, for instance, IRA could take in terms of the different acts and regulations. But this is kind of our key part. Regulations, good, but how to ensure everyone are actually compliant. And if we don't nail that right, things are going to slow down.
Okay, so instead of 3, we need a 4th partner from EU central offices to support us.
Thank you.
Okay, we already are modifying this. Triple-Helix into 4 helices. Next in line is Märt Ridala, CEO of Solita. And why companies sometimes spend time and money on cooperation with universities and the state. We at the universities, we would like to say, Märt, that why do you invest in them, not spend expenditure. It's an investment, please.
Yes, thank you. I was just listening to it and about the language topic. So Apple doesn't pick up our phone, but did you, and as we are a small language, did you know that there is actually one native Livonian speaker? There are about 200 people who speak it as a second language, but one person, because her father and mother decided that they will speak only Livonian with their newborn baby, so she's 5 years old. And probably Livonians appreciate the help in the language model building that we might give them, because they probably don't have the capacity to do it all themselves. So I have first a question. Is somebody here from the University of Tallinn or Tallinn University? Okay, one. Okay, so because I have one of a little bit of a clickbait of a slide, so you maybe don't want to look at that, but anyway, I'll start with why companies spend time or invest time and money on cooperation, and I'll start with very difficult life of an entrepreneur, and then go on with why we should or why do we cooperate with universities, and then also what is the thing on a very general level that companies can give. A few words describing the problem is that I'm from Solita. Solita is a consultancy company. We have all in all over 2,000 experts, and we build solutions for large organizations, public sector, private sector. We have in Estonia two offices, Tallinn and Tartu, 40 consultants. So our office here is in the main square of Tartu. Otherwise, in 9 countries. Now, we build solutions, and the data and AI solutions are one big part of it. Also, software development and digitalization and cloud services. But what I want to say is that our business model as a company is really simple. We work and customers pay for our work. So we do, it's either hourly billable work or then fix projects, but anyway, it's always work, customers pay. Business models might vary, like many companies, banks have a business model that, you know, the 3-6-3 rule, yeah? You loan in with 3%, loan out with 6%, and at 3 o'clock you're at the golf course. So you don't really have to work, you just earn money. What was it, over €1 billion last year, yeah? But we work and we must work to get money for customers to pay. So, as a business manager, it is really exact. These are some metrics that I follow and we follow. Billable, how many billable hours did we get from work hours? What is our average hourly rate? What is a project profitability? How many non-billable people like me per billable people we have in our company? So this is rather harsh in a way, but very detailed, and we see exactly when someone is doing something else than billable work. It shows up on reports immediately. So the question is that how does it look like? Now, on the other hand, I, with a little bit of a Mr. Burns attitude here, say that focusing on money is actually good, because overall, not in only enterprises or companies, it in many cases makes you do the right thing. It helps in choosing what to prioritize and what to not. Actually, more or less, the only thing valuable to do is something that the others are ready to use and the others are ready to pay for. If they say they are ready to use, but then don't use it, then it's maybe not a useful thing to do. So this is a very good principle overall, and makes things more efficient and brings focus. In many cases also helps to choose and avoid all types of trouble and arguing with each other. So in that way, I like money. But then the question is, you don't get any direct benefit or an hourly billable rate when you do cooperation. So why should you do it? And then there are 3 reasons I want to bring out regarding that. Personal, not my personal, but every person's personal, that is who is working in a consultancy company like us. Then on the company level, and then for the society. First of all, every normal consultant at some age starts to suffer from a thing called grandfather syndrome. That's a term that I invented, and it's a evolutionary thing that at some age it makes more sense to talk with the children and teach them stuff than do it yourself. Imagine if humans would, that there wouldn't have ever been that grandfather or grandmother who tells the stories how it was in my youth. Then the youth would have to invent all the stuff themselves, how to hunt a bear. Like everybody goes and invents it themselves. So in that way, evolution has taught us that at some point you have to have the urge to tell the students and the young people about your experiences and teach them. And in consultancy business, we choose people who have a tendency for that, because that is part of the work. We have to teach the customers, tell the teams what is a good solution and what not. So this at some point results that our people they want to go and teach and want to do presentations, etc. Second thing, so from the company perspective, so these are our values, Solita's values, and these differ from consultancy to consultancy. So actually, although I had a Mr. Burns emoji there, but our values are more caring, passion, easygoing, courageous. And this means that we are, as a company, rather are these who maybe don't want to make the last buck or squeeze out the last billable hour, but rather take care of business. And it's think long term, because if you squeeze that final hour, then maybe that will be the last hour or the last billable work you did. So rather take it calmly, think long term. Solita has been around since 1996, so we did even good last year, which was probably one of the hardest years for IT sector since 2009. And this thing that we think long term, think more on cooperation for long term, has helped us as a company. And lastly, when it comes to society, I think many people can complain and say how things should be, that the taxes should be lower and salaries should be higher and roads should be better and overall things should be better. But actually only doing things gives you the right to complain, because if you just whine about stuff, then you are like the other complainers or Delphi commentators. So we have a cooperation more with Talte. Yeah, sorry, a little bit. We're planning with Tartu University, but we have bigger team in Tallinn. And on the society side, we have started or been among the others who started the andmetarkuse võrgustik to also promote data, AI in Estonian society. So instead of just complaining that, why isn't all the private sector companies using data solution and why is it taking so long, rather do something, start a network, tell people about your experiences, knowledge, and so we've tried to improve society in that way. Now, what is the thing that companies are good in? And I'd call it this thinking about efficiency on a more wider scale. So this is something that private organizations are built for. They are actually built for making their customers happy and thus earning their employees the salaries and profit for the owners, but they are focused on that. So first of all, this is the slide, efficiency. As I mentioned, it is important that whenever you choose something to do, then try to choose something that somebody is ready to pay for. And one thing when it comes to the overall universities, and well, not only universities, but also educational establishments in Estonia, and this is not my opinion, this is more of a generic opinion of the companies, is to stop giving hobby education for public money, like recreatsioonikorraldus or others, gardening for I don't know, for hobby gardenists. This is okay to learn it, but people should learn it for their own money, I think. So it is something, it's efficiency and the efficiency of society, and this is one part that we as companies want to promote. Choose the right thing, and I think this is very important also for the students, that or the people or the youth who are selecting what to learn, that they are learning the things that later on bring bread to the table for themselves. Second thing, we from the efficiency point of view, is push new technologies and methodology. Not only public sector, actually. Private sector companies also in many cases ask us that, well, what if I don't do it? What if I don't use AI? What if I have all these other problems and customers are paying me anyway? So why not, why just use the new thing? So this is one part that we as companies want to promote in the whole society. The third thing, thinking about efficiency, and this is always very difficult, this good enough thinking, that it is very rare that something needs to be polished to the last bit of perfectness. There is always some point where you have put enough effort, enough money, enough time into it, and then it is good enough, be it a language model, or be it maybe a study program or anything else. So this is something that in companies or private business is always balanced on. And that is not only on the company level, actually it is a constant thing when it comes to discussions with our employees, that they would like to do more, they would like to put more at yet another hour or a month or to some project. And then the customer says that, oh, no, stop it, it's good enough, we don't want to pay anymore for this, we want it to go live and let it. So finding where this point is something that private sector has experiences and maybe hopefully can also teach other sectors. And lastly, I want to point out, just from our companies and consultancies perspective, what is it that we can do, what is most valuable? And I think that is not so much our money, but more our know-how. So what we have been doing is we give sometimes guest lectures and help with programs for universities. ETL, the IT company and telecommunications union, is also active in that part. So rather give our know-how and help the society through that, and banks can sponsor. So that's the final slides. Thank you. And if you have questions, then I'm most happy to answer them.
How can we join andmetarkuse võrgustik? It was the Facebook group.
It's a LinkedIn group, yeah, yes. So, yeah. 430 members by now, all around Estonia. All are relevant members, not some spammers. So yeah.
And again, initiated in collaboration with.
Yeah, with Kuldaras.
Okay. Point of diminishing returns. He can consult us more. You can push him for consultancy. But did you have any very concrete projects that you actually collaborated and you got some actual data or whatever solutions, ideas? Can you give something very, very concrete?
We are one of our consultants is teaching a lecture or a subject in TalTech University, and so not as a project, but and we are planning a collaborative subject also in the Narva College of Tartu University. So in that teaching has been one thing.
You said that you have offices also in Tartu.
We have an office in Tartu, yes, yeah.
Okay.
And well, when it comes to the public sector, not universities, then this network is one thing, and also sharing know-how is rather the point that we want to do.
So you are first time in Delta here in Tartu?
No, I have been here before, yes, many times.
Yeah. There we have. You push Estonians hard and they eventually...
Thank you for the good talk. I have a question, so Florian Vogt from Hamburg. You mentioned counting time is important for a company, but personal and societal issues are too. So what's a good mixture for your employees to spend one versus the other? Or?
Sorry, what is the...
dedicating time to projects is important, but as well going beyond it is as well important. So what do you find is a mixture to, overall to get a good balance?
Well, it is, of course, most is projects. Yeah, it's, but it's also sharing knowledge inside the team with our other members. And learning yourself something and sharing outside. So it is, I'd say, it depends on the consultant and actually a little bit on the age. So the older, the bigger part of sharing and less part of, or let's say more experience. Yeah. So I'd say, but it's still like 10% sharing, 90% of work. But a lot of that work also is kind of sharing the knowledge with the customer and teaching customer organization in using new technologies, new tools.
Elena?
Yeah, a comment to Jaak actually. So Märt actually helped us with a video for data science course, online course that we were teaching with Ardi. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And I also wanted to ask, what's the best way of financing such collaborative projects? You're all about efficiency, right, in the company. So what's the most efficient way to find funding for such collaborations?
EU, I don't know. If someone else pays, it's always good. But well, then it's then you can invest more in it. But it's very important actually that the people who actually do it like it. That's the alternative scenario. Either someone pays for it, be it some EU or AIS, what are they now? AAs, yeah, is now there, or a customer or a sponsor, or then just the people like it so much that they do it
in the free time.
Yeah, not free time, but they just and we let them do.
Thank you.
We got about the data science program, what is running away, but the master's curriculum, the graduate salary data. And it turns out indeed that Hiiumaa ametikool pays after graduation higher salaries in the workforce, but probably not for gardening. It's their own main job that brings the salary high. So this is one of the highest paying degrees that you can get in Estonia. Thank you, Märt.
Thank you.
And we will come back to the state, but actually now to the authority who, I don't know, is it true that you probably hold the most data about Estonian citizens, the largest data collections of government held, produced data. So, and after some of the, anyway, long story short, we have Kaido Paabusk, who is Deputy Director General at Statistics Estonia. And your headquarters is in Tallinn, but side office is in the next building in here.
No, it's upstairs.
No, next building in here.
Okay.
We have two buildings.
Then I'm confused.
We know this building up inside.
Okay, I rely on your experience.
And we will hear about the role of Statistics Estonia. I like the title in this Triple-Helix. Please.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, and thanks a lot for giving us opportunity to talk about our work or how our work relates to this Triple-Helix concept. I have to warn you, my slides are not as flashy as previous slides. It doesn't just tell about my presentation skills, but also about the level of funding of Statistics Estonia. Ott just mentioned that there have been reductions and they are still happening. Actually, yeah, it came quite kind of sudden for me. There was supposed to be another person representing us, and then I had to quickly do or put up this presentation myself. But yeah, I'd like to talk to you about the work, or firstly, who we are. I didn't know who's going to be in this audience, so I'm going to tell a little bit about Statistics Estonia. It might not be that obvious to everyone. And I will also tell a little bit about what we have done so far in cooperating with academia and the industry, and in the end I will tell what can be done or what's potential of this kind of cooperation. So who we are? It was just mentioned, we're situated in Tallinn, but we have also offices in Tartu and Viljandi. And to be honest, the Tartu office is the fastest growing, so it's much easier to find a skilled workforce from here. And so I invite you to apply to the jobs or vacancies we announce. As you just said, probably we are the organization in Estonia who knows the most about Estonian, not just citizens, the people living in Estonia. This is just an overview of some figures. We have over 120,000 data providers and almost 300,000 answered questionnaires. And also our data are heavily used. So it increased from 2 million to 3 million in 1 year. It's probably also has something to do with the bots visiting our tables, but still our data also quite heavily used. And then feel free to join our social media groups. We have quite good, interesting information there, updated quite often. But yeah, what do we do in Statistics Estonia? Statistics Estonia is one of the 2 official statistics providers in Estonia. In Europe, there are very different types of statistical systems. In Sweden, for instance, there are 20 different institutions providing official statistics, and then this statistics office is kind of coordinating their work. In Estonia, it's only 2 providers. It's us and Bank of Estonia, that produces finance-related statistics. So it's a very centralized system. So most of the official statistics produced in Estonia comes from us. But we are also not a very usual type of public institution in that sense that we also have an opportunity to sell our services. Most other public institutions can't do that. So So yeah, in addition to official statistics, which is regulated by law, and then the annual statistical program is approved by the government of the Republic, we also have work outside this program we can do for money. And also, if it comes to funding, so we have state budget, which is the largest share of our budget, but we also have grants from mostly from Europe, from Eurostat, but also economic activities. And for instance, we do quite a lot of work for Ministry of, it used to be Ministry of Economy, but now Ministry of Justice and Digital Affairs. And just to give you an overview where our money comes from. So it's state budget, it's a gray part, and then the rest of it is kind of unstable funding, and then the top part, this orange part, is the revenue we earn through economic activities. And then, yeah, we do provide the statistics in many different areas, but we can't say that we know everything about Estonian society. For instance, we don't do health statistics. This is kind of unsolved issue that health statistics is not part of official statistics system in Estonia. And this statistics is done by health care institute, or how are they called in English. But yeah, we cover quite a many different areas. The largest part of our work is done in economic areas, and then which consists of many sub-areas. And then also important fact maybe is that 93% of our costs are one way or another related to EU needs. It doesn't mean that it's only this data needed for EU, but this is required by EU legislation, which also means that these data are comparable across the European Union. This just shows that being a part of European Union and European statistics system means that basically we work for Europe most of our time. Our experience so far in cooperating with academia and the industry, just some examples. We have history of for more than 100 years, or probably many more examples, but these are mostly from the last 10 years or so. The most traditional part of our work is sample service, or kind of where we survey individuals. We phone them or say fill our web-based questionnaires, but this is the kind of decreasing part of our work. Our aim is to decrease the share of surveys in our work to a minimum. We are still not there yet, but this is our ambition. And here I just wanted to highlight what kind of different projects we have conducted, and how our work can mean very different things in different services that we provide to our clients. In some cases, we just collect the data, so we have our own kind of survey network across Estonia. So those people usually call to the respondents and ask their answers, and then there is a kind of market failure in this area at the moment in Estonia, that up to a certain level of respondents, there is basically no supply in the market. So we have to provide, even if we would not, even if it's not our kind of favorite part of our work. And then that's why usually universities come to us, because private sector can't provide this kind of service at this quality, because it's quite expensive, and we are subsidized from the state budget. So yeah, and sometimes it could mean just collecting data. In other cases, we do the whole spectrum, from specifying needs up till disseminating the data or compiling analysis reports. So it could be very different. Experimental statistics, I see Kadri is over there, a member of our experimental statistics team. This is a quite new part of Statistics Estonia. Kadri probably knows more how long is the history, but it's internationally now very common to establish this kind of units. One reason to do this is to earn extra revenue, but another part is, of course, experimenting and actually learning new methods, testing them, and if we're lucky, then also putting them in our everyday work, yeah, these are just some examples what our experimental statistics team can do. Data linking, of course, this is most common type of work, but it's probably also most tedious part of work for our experimental people, because it's not that kind of ambitious thing. Finding new data sources for producing statistics, coming up with new methods, modern visualization solutions, and things like that, and just some latest examples of the projects that we have done. And here you can also see who are our clients. Our clients are usually public institutions or universities. So I can't even remember if we have done much work for private companies, and there are also some legal limits of what we can do for private sector. Kind of some very different types of work, basically finding data in different combinations than we produce when we do official statistics. And maybe also a couple of words about data sharing. One important part of our work is collecting data, but of course we are not created just to collect data, but putting them into use by the society. And here it's just copied a long text from the official Statistics Act, which puts quite strict limits on what we can do with our data. So our share our data for purely scientific and statistical purposes. Of course, it's not that clear always what is scientific or what is statistical, but we are bounded by this article. And for all statistical offices, this confidentiality condition is one of the key principles. So this is where our trust is kind of based. So we only can give out data where you can't identify individuals, so it has to be anonymized. And also for dissemination, there are limits. So it's we can do that for statistical and scientific purposes. So it's even if we would want to cooperate much widely, it's not always that simple. So if for instance, private companies would want to cooperate with us, it's much easier when they do it through universities or other research institutions. ERICA is probably a new term even for people who have worked with our data. This is kind of data sharing or environment we are currently creating. Some of you might have worked or used our data through this what we call scientist portal or something like that. In Estonia, it's teadlaste portaal. And then now we have developed this scientist portal so that earlier you had to come to our premises to use the portal. Now we have this VPN access, so you can do it remotely. But our kind of next ambition is also to make it even more convenient and also make our data much easier to find and to use. So this ERICA is this kind of framework concept around these needs, and hopefully in a couple of years' time, yeah, our data will be much easily used than they are at the moment, not just for academicians but maybe even in a further future for the people outside academia. Joint projects, what I call like a triple-helix project, I could find from previous experiences, registry-based census, where we developed a methodology together with Ernst Young, Tallinn University and University of Tartu. It was more than 10 years ago, this project, but for those who don't know, in Estonia, basically we can conduct our census without questioning anyone, but basically we can do them only based on registries now. Another interesting project was a mobile position pilot study in the 2017-18, and also during COVID we worked together with telcos and different government institutions, and I think also some people from academia were involved. But what I mean by unused potential, I think we have quite good cooperation already with different government institutions. With academy, it's also more or less fine, but with business, I think it could be much better than it is at the moment. And what are the problems with extending this cooperation? One of the problems, key problems, is data access. Or the challenges we face in putting our data into better use. One problem is data access, that we don't always have the access to the data we actually need. And sometimes it's a problems with the data sharing. Even if we have those data, we can't share them with wider public or companies. And of course, data protection legislation is one of the reasons. I'm not saying that data doesn't need to be protected, but we need to find better solutions on how to put our data into better use. Data governance is one of the key issues. Probably Ott knows very well about that. Even if we sometimes have the data and say theoretically can be accessed, actually it's not that easy to link those data, because there are different standards, different taxonomies, and it's not easy to find them. So we need to do much better work in there, and that's where we also have a joint project together with Ministry of Justice and Digital Affairs. And there are also, of course, societal attitudes, methodological issues, technology, organizational issues we need to solve to make this triple-helix work better. Yeah, to sum up, our cooperation is mostly bilateral, with some exceptions. But even in bilateral cooperation, there is some unused potential with deeper cooperation at the methodological level. We could use more actively industrial doctorates, better use of existing data. And then the triple-helix cooperation would open up completely new opportunities, putting a huge amount of our data into better use by linking it with data from other sources. But first, there are serious legal hurdles we need to overcome. And then just one example where actually we are now working on this it's kind of really perfect example of a triple-helix project. We were awarded or we applied for a fund in a government office. They have this kind of innovation fund, and then we just applied to test privately held data through privacy-enhancing technology, and we want to do it with mobile positioning data, so that there are institutions from government involved, hopefully from academia, but also from private sector. So hopefully this project will tell us how the private data could be used without breaking this or this confidentiality principle. So this is a basic idea of the project we are just about to start. So thank you very much. It was really quick run through of these different projects we have done and about ourselves in more general. So if you have any further questions, I would be happy to answer.
Thank you. I was wondering, so before you can even do statistics, you actually need to have the data. So maybe you can talk a bit more about the data access. How does it actually look like? You're not connecting to a private company's production database or data lake probably. So do you need someone on their side to prepare some data dump or give access to something? So maybe you can talk a bit about how it looks like for a private company and maybe, I don't know, Priya or someone. And then once you have the data, you still need to be really good, like a superhero, to actually understand and have the domain knowledge of everything happening in everywhere to make sure you don't have any biases in your statistics. So how do you do that?
Small question. How many hours do I have? For the first question, it's easier to answer. Basically, our data come from there are like three main sources. The most traditional one is, of course, questionnaires or surveys. So we conduct surveys for individuals. And then also we send out surveys to the companies they have to fill. And this is a statutory obligation. So they have to provide us the data according to the Official Statistics Act. But as I mentioned earlier, this is the kind of part of the data collection we'd like to reduce quite considerably in the next years. And that what could replace or what is already replacing this type of data collection is currently it's mostly what we call administrative data. So these are the data owned by different or in the databases or registers of different state institutions. So we have this X-Road kind of platform where, and then through this X-Road platform, we basically can access all these different databases and get whatever we need. And if there's something missing, then we put it in our questionnaire. So this is how we operate now mostly. But more and more, we also have this kind of, we are using privately held data, either by scraping websites, which is a tiny part, but also asking, for instance, retail companies to provide us their scanner data, for instance, if we work on price indexes and so on. And this is also the part we'd like to increase considerably. That's why we are now, we initiated this innovation project to better understand privately held data and then to find technical solutions to ensure the confidentiality so that companies are willing to trust their data to us. So yeah, this both we would like to increase the use of administrative data and also privately held data. But the second part, I'm not going into that because it's too big thing to answer and probably.
So you said that you don't work with health data.
Yeah.
Why is that exactly? And in your opinion, would it make sense for you to have this data?
I guess it's purely bureaucratic reason why we don't work with health data. It's just happened to be like this when this kind of statistical system was formed, and that this National Health Institute collects this data, and okay, they already have this expertise, and let them collect. And I think it's a wise decision. The problem is that it's not integrated into official statistics system. So when I said we don't work with health data, it's not completely correct. It's not our obligation by law, but actually we also collect data for this National Health Institute, and then hand them over, and then they can do their analysis. But this is only a small part of the health-related data. But it's basically, I guess it's mostly because it's a small country, and then when we already have expertise in one place, it would not make sense to kind of break this system, and that's why it is still there. Yeah.
Thank you, Kaido. I'm Priit from company who builds solutions onto the top of data. And I have a question actually, which is in two parts. First, Is it true, saying that data is new oil?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
But it must be refined before you use it.
Yeah.
Correct.
We see it every day in our work.
So, and here comes the very practical question. If a private company would like to cooperate with your office, to whom to talk to come with cooperation proposal or something like that, is it you or somebody else?
I didn't exactly understand what kind of...
Let's say Triple-Helix,
yeah.
putting some kind of joint project using the data from the statistics office, your data analysts, private sector would build up the service, and maybe we have some scientists from universities who will build up something totally new, helping some sectors of industries with some new services, but based on the data, what is available at the statistics office.
I think the best place to start from is probably experimental team. Kadri is sitting over there. But we are a small institution, so if you could just drop email and this information, or how it's called, this kind of first kind of contact you find on our website, and we'll follow it up. So it's, but I'm pretty sure it will somehow land in experimental statistics team.
Thank you. I got.
It's a small team of 300 plus people. For companies, it's.
But Kadri, can you wave your hand? Oh, okay. Hi.
I have one very last simple question. So I think I have heard that now is something that in Estonia we say digiprügi koristusnädal. Delete the old digital garbage. Do you delete anything?
Yeah, I just got this email 2 days ago also from our people that this is a week we should delete something. But yeah, I think we do that. I don't know about the technical details, but I think this is also one part of this data governance work. Why I mentioned the importance, I think this data governance is also should cover these kind of things, that you actually know what data you have and whether you still need the data you have. And this is kind of one of our priorities, first to get our own data well governed, and then we also helping other institutions already in kind of governing their data systems. But wait, you want
yeah, just from a kind of a high-level practitioner view, data storage is kind of not doubling, quadrupling each year, and the cost associated with that as well. So I would say kind of on a government level, no, there is no kind of holistic life cycle management in place, unfortunately. So even with archiving and etc. So unfortunately, no.
Our future AI that turns against humanity needs that data. Thank you. And we need some food and drinks and everything. Thank you. So we have 15 minutes for snacks and drinks and talking to Kadri. But thank you for coming back. I hope that you are not as starving anymore. And we have to keep up the tempo after the break as well. First up will be Priit, who is head of the CEO of NetGroup, and he will talk about mental health. Please.
Good evening. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I would like to talk about practical cooperation we have right now with Tartu University and with one of the medical institution called Heba Clinic. But before, a few words about NetGroup, who we are. We are a business and software development company. And we do focus on three major things. Business model innovation. That would be something we design together with customer the new business model before we take into the usage the new technical tools. So basically, this is like consultancy. Second, we do products, software products. We do have in our portfolio 2 very successful daughter companies. One of them is reaching 10 million euro valuation. Another one is running after 100 million. So we believe in well-designed turnkey solutions. And of course, we do the traditional software development as well. So, and I'm going to talk about one software product we do for the mental health area, as mentioned, together with EBA Clinic and University of Tartu. The challenge or the problem we are facing is that the mental health issues are growing. Lots of people, they are suffering from depression, anxiety, and definitely there are no resources to address all the demands on time. We think if our solution was available 10 years ago, probably Avicii would be alive. We try to achieve that people who tend to have problems, mental issues, are not going to the clinical stadium. We want to prevent, we want to help them before, and now all the tools are available. Data, computing power, and partners. And we would like to use the technologies and knowledges in the mobile app. We start here in Estonia, and that should be available quite soon globally. There are 3 partners. EBA Clinic, they have the idea, and they are managing the consortium. Ourselves, we do the technical work, we do the machine learning from the technical point of view, and then we have University of Tartu. They do research, they do the clinical part, they do everything that is needed to approve clinically what we come up from the data. We would like to make this app as a clinical instrument, if it's right to say, or medical device. Yes, that's probably right. So that will be audited, and probably one of the first in the region. From technology point of view, we are facing several aspects of innovation, like using AI, using big data, doing analysis, machine learning. We introduce quite new features in the health sector, which is the dynamic feedback from the users, from the customers. And specifically, we would like to come up with user-specific recommendations that are proven, not just like suggestions, but clinically proven, and the patterns tested and approved. Definitely, that solution should be scalable, as it will be mobile app. It will be definitely available around the globe, but we are facing different type of nations, maybe legislations, maybe way of livings. But we would like to achieve to the situation we could predict the mental health of a person. And that would be something we could avoid the bigger problems. And we would like to develop the CE certified solution, come onto the market soon, and definitely to leave the door open for the future clinical studies, since we build the data lake for clinical and scientific analysis. We probably use only part of that, what we use for the testing, for the predicting, but lots of data, lots of knowledge will stay there and probably will be ground and basis for the future studies and maybe for the future services. And now I would like to go a little bit in depth. We call it digital persona. We start using and defining and collecting data for different data points. Definitely traditional web form. You describe yourself, then feedback, daily feedback, if you use the app. We started integrating the biosensor data from Google, from Apple, wearable devices. Oura Ring will be one of the source. I know that lots of sports apps, they use the data from the watches. Basically, this is the similar. But we enlarge that number of devices. We use geolocation. One of the interesting task or challenge for the data scientists is the voice recognition. Not only voice recognition, but we would like to start to predict the different tones and maybe different dynamics of the voice. And maybe it would give some kind of hint how the emotional feeling is of the person. Maybe we can find something, some marks from the voice before something happens. Daily emotions, check in, how do you feel in the morning, etc. And definitely all kinds of social media, Facebook, other social media, and lots of other data points. And that's why I asked from the statistical office if we could use more government-owned data or open data. So everything that is available, we would import and sort of trying to find patterns, how this digital persona works, lives, and how it affects the medical, the mental well-being. Science. So what is the part of the Tartu University? We have a team of scientists. I could name a couple of names, Velsberg and Mõttus. I think they are part of our team, really digging in, and they do observe all the current practices, good practices around the world, worst practices, and then, of course, hypotheses. We would like to be one of the inventor who is coming up with some new ideas. Let's say the same thing with the voice. Maybe it works, maybe not, but we will try it. If the tone of voice really matters, we will use it. If something else really would matter, we really would use that in our app. They use data from different data points. They do generate algorithms. They find patterns, and they predict trends. And there will stay lots of material available for the future science. Our part, we would be responsible for ETL process, extract, transfer, load. Basically, we try to get the data into the staging area. We do the cleansing, we do the improvement, little bit, and then it goes to the scientists. And anything good goes out to the mobile app. Challenges, lots of challenges. I just took 3 of them, and the last one is probably most of the exhilarating, but we definitely have too small data amounts, and we do need to create synthetic variations of existing data to increase the size of the data set. And here I would like to call up for the participation. Everybody could be like a test user. It was opened this week, fantastic.me. You would register and be part of the testing team. So data set in Estonia too small, we have to do the synthetic data. Second, how to improve the interpretation of collected data. And here is where we use now large language models to add the context to the available data. So basically, we feed the data to the language models, and with the language models, we try to get some extra information, some more variables that could be used in data analysis. Very interesting project, and really challenging the same things as everybody now with ChatGPT, with new services, with old services available. So, but this is something we have recognized increases a lot the data. If it's good data or usable, we don't know yet. We will start to use them in a couple of weeks. But in future, since we want to make this app available in everybody's mobile phone, and if we see the trends of mobile phone hardware developments, they say in 2-3 years, the chip would be so powerful it could run the local language model in the mobile phone. So instead of sending out the GDPR data to some kind of database, all the processing can be done in mobile phone. And this is something we now plan how to run the part of the language models or the little bit scaled down language models in mobile devices and in hybrid mode. Don't ask me how, but I know that the data architects, they're working with that in terms of what if it comes in 2 years. So this is the project really gives great challenges for everybody, for us. For ourselves, it's much more than just delivering the code. For university, it's something that it really is practical outcome. And for the HEPA clinic, it's a great flagship for the new business. And just few screenshots. We do, how the initial assessment is done. Let's say myself, I log in, I see my radar. This is the 6 aspects of my own feeling. How do I assess myself? And then the final picture would be that one of my aspects, the calmness, is 20 out of 100. A week ago, it was the dotted area, but if somebody asks if 20 is good or bad, we don't know. This is why we need Tartu University they will make the algorithm telling which is good or not. Thank you. That was all. And
so what was the address?
Mentastic.me.
And it's not only for depressed people.
It's for everybody.
For everybody. Just checking. Any questions? No? Wait for the mic.
Speaking about the depressed people, but if you're giving the score and the person is really bad, do you think if they get a score of 5 out of 100, it won't make them worse?
I try to avoid that question because it's not avoid, but this is what we are now would like to understand. If the comfort zone is 5, and if the profile of the person, and if the clinical testings are telling that, okay, if 5 is good for that person, then it's okay. So basically, that should, and that will have the scientific reason behind. At the moment, I just showed, I might say that, okay, 20 is bad, but if I see it's getting better and my level should be 40 and not more, then I should be happy.
Thank you so much. Do you have any preliminary findings and...
Please louder.
Yes, of course. Do you have any preliminary findings, and are there any data sets that are especially valuable to diagnostics or predictions?
Own assessments of every person and the data from wearables. This is what we have. We hope to get a lot from voice, and definitely, if that would be possible, we don't use at the moment the data from the government. But if we could have legally possible to get the data about the person overall well-being, that would be also good input. What?
No, wait.
Ah.
If it's okay, I'll take one question before. My name is Silla Sepp from the Finnish Center for Smart Cities. First of all, I think it's really good and you're really brave also to take that challenge upon yourself because, of course, public health and influencing health behavior is a very complex topic. There's a lot of different questions that I'd like to follow up on, but I'd like to actually follow up from the claim that Ott made beforehand about 50% of people not trusting companies with their data. In your context, what's your strategy to actually build trust in your service and perhaps mitigate some of the risks that could come with this?
Probably 2 or 3 reasons. Clinically tested. So that won't be like voodoo. That will be clinically tested and certified application. Second, I hope we will get lots of recommendations from the psychiatrists and from the users. And the third, that will be designed for the global markets. So maybe we should take next country, UK, where the trust against private companies is higher.
That's a great question.
Yes. So when you were presenting, so first thing that popped up was that we have consent service, which is today, last year passed 1 million consents kind of given. We have Minudoc, e-Perearstikeskus and others who are utilizing. So first question, have you thought about utilizing consent as a basis to get access to government health data? The second thing is, I think we need to talk about, we are right now kind of working as an initiative, Digital Twin, which links very strongly. And here the question is, what data you see that government has on individuals would be beneficial for initiatives such as this?
I start from the very end. The general health data about the person, and definitely the consent service might be the key to solve that challenge. So thanks, and let's talk about the other things later on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next I realize that I have to introduce myself, finally. As I said, I'm heading the data science, but coming from the biological data, health data, and overall data science. This, you know how these seminars are being put together. You have a big plan, and then, okay, let's now have this on this topic. And then, what would you call, which topic would be the next? And then you can, okay, let's do this Triple-Helix, because the startup day is about to start, and the businesses will be all around in here. And let's also invite the government, the state, to be here. So that's a little bit of the background. Helix, in the DNA, you know, it's double helix, right? That Watson and Crick proposed or understood that that's how the mechanism works. Actually, in the nature, it is a mechanism of carrying information and copying information. So in the double helix, for every nucleotide on one strand, there is a perfect match on the other one. Yeah. And when you separate them, you complement them, you have two double helices. So why the hell do we need this third wheel? In a way, if there is this English saying. But anyway, in 1990s, the triple-helix concept was proposed by these guys, and the original publication, 95, and the book has been published. So the idea, really, if you look for the definition in Google, then it's a model of innovation that refers to a set of interactions between academia, the university, industry, and government to foster economic and social development, as described in concepts such as the knowledge economy and knowledge society. So we have heard a little bit what we need, this kind of knowledge intensive opportunities to develop our economy, and that is heavily needed, of course. I'm not advocating that Helix is the perfect thing, because somehow these helices, what are the links? If they are just in parallel and they never touch, what is the interaction between them, right? And this is a question to think about. The most simplistic view is government takes away, well, companies create value, the money. Government takes away taxes, has all that money, and has the decision power to give out the money to education, social security, defense, etc. So companies create money, government redistributes money, and education gets a little bit of that as expense of expenditure. Let's not spend too much. And then what university produces is people, ideas, and knowledge that are moved from the university to the companies. So companies are the ones who create value. This is the very simplistic view of how the business, how economy works in a way, right? And then we have this technical readiness levels, TRLs, from the idea to the market, and all these death valleys, how to get from the concept to the actual product on the market. So you, just random grab from the internet that universities do heavy lifting in the beginning, industry does the heavy lifting at the end, and then there is this gap to go over. And sometimes in some big economies, big countries, the government offices carry some of that load as well. In here, national labs, Department of Energy, Estonia has introduced MetroCert as the research organization. So the truth is probably somewhere in between all of these. Some other trivial kind of claims is that if some goal for research has longer than 5-year horizon, develop idea, in 5 years' time it will be ready, let's go to market. The 5 years is too long for any company, not small companies in here, but also to any big company, big markets as well, because they would say, why would I invest if I don't know what is my business model going to be in 5 years' time? I don't know if there is any other technology that is surpassing. I don't know if I have, I don't know, competitors take this up. So 5-year horizon is too long for normal companies to invest heavily. But universities work in these 4 or 5-year PhD student projects, 4, 5, 6-year research grants. So for universities, that's actually quite normal mode of operation. You start from the idea and you develop it over the period to some sort of maturity. On the other extreme, if something takes only 2-3 months to implement, you know exactly what to do, then companies should do that themselves. Because you know you're not going to achieve it, you do it, you go to market. And then anything in between is kind of question how to find these models of collaboration. Is it only consultancy to some company? Is it actually R&D question? Is it some student project, etc.? So in a way, I think this picture is way more complicated because often companies, of course, get the ideas, topics, demands from the industry, the funding, from the state. The funding comes from the state back to the industries. Universities contribute people to the industry as well as to the state and knowledge. So we do research also for the government. With industry, we exchange people, ideas. It's not that simple. None of these interactions is one-way street. There is one elephant in the room that, at least in the IT sector, I feel that university is so big. We have 1,500 students. We have 300 staff, 100 academic staff, 100 PhD students. Compared to the industry, in Estonian case, ICT industry, 32,000 individuals, what university is a very small one. And with this small university, we have to cover every possible discipline that is needed in any of the IT companies, for example. But you can generalize that for any company. In Estonia, about 630,000 people work. And the University of Tartu, for example, has about 2,000 people working. It depends how you count the PhD students. By any measure, universities are relatively small compared to all the industries. And in IT and state and these knowledge industries, I also feel that actually state has a lot of these IT houses, IT software development houses, statistics Estonia. We have state bureaus as well. So even compared to them, universities actually are relatively small, right? So few people produce ideas and have to contribute, and then they do contribute. I learned that educating the youth is actually the grandfather syndrome. It must be strong with the teachers at the universities, stuff like that. Okay, this is our institute staff numbers, that actually we do have only like 14 professors, 24 associate professors, lecturers. So you can think that our research groups are, depending how you count, but it's about 30, 40 groups of smaller sizes, slightly larger sizes. So that's all that we can, in a way, manage. But of course, university is broader, so you are dealing with the psychology department, different departments, so it doesn't need to be IT talks with IT, because we need all these other domain knowledges as well, of course. In our institute case, what can we do with the companies or state is, of course, different scholarship schemes. We don't want our students only to work in the companies and then come to university in the evening when they are already tired. We want them to actually study when they are still young. The brain still adopts to new knowledge. So scholarship schemes would be nice. From the companies, relevant data and tasks for different courses should come in. Data, well, Statistics Estonia, you can provide some challenging data, challenging questions. We have different interaction modes for software development projects, data science, digital product design and development program at Sandbox. Then all our students have to go for professional practice. All our students have to take professional practice in the industry. So these positions have to be offered by the companies. We also have introduced something where we kind of make the three-way collaborations that university and student and company agree together that student works for his or her educational purposes. So he studies at university and does a prolonged professional practice at the company, and also completes the final thesis work with the company goals, industry-related master's thesis projects. But the involvement is like for 1 year. And then company is expected to contribute finances towards that as well. PhD projects, when PhD student starts, it takes at least from the idea, recruitment of PhD students, start 4 years or slightly longer. So it's a long project to make one full PhD. But we can collaborate with industry with these PhD projects. And R&D projects of different length, time scales as well. What is interesting, and I kind of sense that you also brought this up, at least in the corridor, that sometimes companies and universities can go after the funding together for EU funding sources or national funding sources, go after these together to help subsidize some of this work. What are the obstacles? Asymmetric information flows. I feel that this is one of the most hardest things to overcome. Because for companies, it's natural that when they do something, they want to protect their IP, not only by public patenting that takes many years until it becomes public, not by publishing papers, not by opening up all the data, but they want to protect the information or knowledge, sometimes by just security, well, basically that not to reveal that to competitors, right? On the other hand, universities work on exactly the opposite way, that we should be very, very open what we do in here. And that is going into the Estonian law of TAIKS, teadus-arenduse innovatsiooni korralduse seadus, as well, that results by the public funding should be public, open. Does not mean free necessarily, but it has to become public good. Recruitment, we have different, we go by the state rules versus companies can hire, and sometimes they are hiring all the PhD students away before they get PhDs, that's fine, or bachelor students, even when they have not learned to program yet. I hope that the economic situation is making the life harsher for students to find these premature places at the companies, because during their youth, they have to learn heavily at university. Funding. Tell me companies who have funding nowadays. Okay, banks, they made billion last year. But what kind of research, how they would give that back to the society as grants or schemes or university collaboration, I don't know. But for many companies, as we heard, last year was one of the toughest. And then if funding is involved, who takes actually the risks? Is it the companies, the government, at what cost? I think this is where exactly sort of the government, companies, universities might share some of the risks. If there are mutual interests, we can also mutually share some of these risks. And then not all of my time is free for research or time for collaborations with the companies. Most of our teaching staff is involved in teaching, and then the time that is free for other activities sometimes gets to this diminishing time. So that is also very important. And we heard today that regulatory hurdles are real. I'm not going to go too much into these. So these are some of the obstacles that if we acknowledge them, we can do something about overcoming them if we really want. Health is the domain where we have been working a lot. Actually, I came back to Estonia in 2002 to make the Estonian Biobank. All this time it's related to health and biology data. So this is only health part of Estonian IT systems. X-Road connects different databases, information sources. But the way how we describe the databases as the towers, they are like silo towers. And they are not meant to be combined unless you have queries, you have reasons, you service people, you get data from 1, 2, 3, 4 different sources, then it's good. But it's not meant for analytics, it's not meant for using the secondary purposes of collecting together, bringing together data. And we have been thinking a lot about this health, in the health data context, that when you have some idea that needs to link different data from different countries or regions or different information systems, then you have to approach each one separately. Maybe you get the results that you can start comparing, but it's tedious because every data looks different. Every app in here would look different in their APIs interacting with the data. Unless we do something for leveraging that, taking away that pain. And one of these is that if we can have data models that support data analytics better. In the case of health, we have adopted OMOP, Common Data Model, promoted or designed by Odyssey community. The original data source is for primary purposes, for people's care, etc., for medical doctor interactions. But this data can be exported, transformed, and loaded into the analytical formats that support, that share the data model, and then you can share the code to different silo towers. So one idea, one algorithm, one script, you can run in multiple places in different countries. That's how we actually collaborate across countries. And then we can get results from different countries and start understanding how Estonian health system is different from the others. Is it the way how we operate, or is it something medical? Statistics Estonia showed that they have the secure research environments. We are using Estonian national high-performance computing centers, TAI's secure environments, where we ask data, of course, after all the tedious ethics approvals, etc., but we ask data that is encoded by cryptographic IDs to pseudonymize data, to bring them together in the secure environment where we can link the data without the revealing the real identities to the researchers, right? But we can link the data. We have to do all these ETL processes, and then we have good quality data where we can apply algorithms in this secure environment. The aggregate results we can export after somebody is validating that this is really aggregating. Everything is logged, everything is monitored, potentially against any misuse. Of course, you might think that all this ETL could be done upfront at every data source, and then it would be easier to export data and link them together. That would be also a very, very nice situation. But at the moment, we do not have that. I think I had one slide where one idea is that let's bring all the data together first and then use that for analysis. That somehow has the biggest legal hurdles. And I did not have much time to talk about this. Eden has been a project that is promoting this OMOP common data model across Europe. Several hundreds of data sets or data sources have been mapped for several 100 million people. So we are partners of that Eden project that educated many SMEs and data owners. These data networks allow collaborative research questions that, for example, Darwin is European Medicines Agency is running the network of studies to different data sources, different countries, on the efficacy of the drugs or side effects, how they work, what are the complications, etc. And let's add to that soup the genomics, beyond 1 million genomes, 1+ million genomes. So all these three projects, Eden, Darwin, and beyond 1 million genome projects are in here on the third floor. We are like sitting next door to each other, the same teams. We have Hall of Fame from the Mario Draghi reports, page 200. So this is about Mario Draghi. A big report was published about how to make Europe more competitive. And these examples are in here. European health data space is one of these data spaces for health data that actually demands to open up health data for research purposes. And these are some of the projects that have enabled this exactly for these kind of purposes. Okay, I'm close to my presentation. We are in the Delta building. I show you some slides. First, there was architecture with the name Iconicum. Then we ran a name competition. We choose Delta, and that went to designers. And designers look up Google for Delta. What does it mean? Okay, it's affects the light, the river delta, the Greek letters, and came up with this, everything that visually you can see around the delta, around this topic. And one of our initial thoughts immediately was actually that this triangular shape should be the basis of what we just heard about triple-helix collaborations. So we can express the same triple-helix in slightly different mode, how universities working with the people in teaching and research. We produce people, knowledge, innovation, and this allows for these government, universities, and companies to think that we have these triangular modes of collaborations. It's not always straightforward, but it is possible, nevertheless, and that's how we also can use these logos. And of course, life is not that easy, so we have further ideas how to play with these visuals, but you can think now, whenever you look at these logos or visuals in Delta or maybe some of our institute merch, then you think about that. This is actually university, government, companies working in mysterious ways together in promoting and advancing Estonian and maybe also global European economic growth, social growth together. Thank you. Okay, any questions to me?
Hello, my name is Hannes Rees from Nortal. I have a question about like the future funding for research and where the research takes place, because in the last, let's say, 10, 15 years, I think we've seen a lot of research taking place in private tech companies, for example, in Google. For example, the now quite famous paper, Attention is All You Need, was which introduced the transformer architecture, based on which is the basis for much of the AI. This was done in like Google. Meta has its own research lab. There is like, of course, in China, in Beijing, there's a lot of companies which focus on, let's say, machine learning and AI research. What do you think about that? Because you mentioned in the beginning of your presentation that usually companies do not really focus on long-term projects like 5 years plus. But I think in the recent years, we have seen a lot of like research, really, like, let's say, impactful research done by private companies. So do you think this is like a longer-term trend, that this sort of research is also moving towards like private sector when compared to the, let's say, publicly funded research, funded by grants, for example?
At any given time, it may look like that Apple invented everything on the phone. This is not true, right? The original ideas have emerged from the universities, from different research activities. Maybe the defense has the moonshot has financed those. Neural networks have been developed all the time at the universities. So it would be very short-sighted to say that all this came from the companies only without university impact. First, it's not that without universities, but there is this part of the asymmetric flow. Asymmetry is definitely there. Google was one of the first to hit one after the other the big data barriers, right? Nobody has done anything at that scale. One of the remarkable examples is we teach to, I don't know which week of the bachelor students we teach binary search. And then Google engineers said that binary search, as described in all the textbooks, is broken. You can't imagine that very easily to happen. But it happened when your data grew so that the index plus index was overflowing 32-bit integers. And nobody had that problem before, right? It's not like it would be hard to solve, and there are tons of solutions. But some of the problems, they hit first in IT industry. Some of the scaling problems, they have hit first. And that is one of the privileges, that then they have teams, smaller or many small teams or larger teams, that have way more resources than university labs. If you think of the OpenAI trained models, that what they said, oh, we spent 30 million on just electricity price. Tell me one university, one research group that would have ever this amount of funding. So it's much more complicated relationship. And I think the industry is absorbing the best trained people into their secure enclaves. Yes, they publish some of that information, but it would be wrong to say that innovation happens only in there, because many ideas and the young people moving to industry, they bring their ideas and they execute them, sometimes in there, sometimes in the university context. There is no simple answer to all of this, I think.
It's a follow-up question. What's the next feasible one thing that universities and companies should take to improve collaboration in R&D?
In some very specific narrow research area, or generally?
You tell me.
Sorry?
You tell me.
You tell me. I think some of these data related, like health data, I can understand why the people would be hesitant to take all the data and hand it over, tell me everything about your health, to one app that may or may not be that secure. So that is definitely one place where I can see that the trust in the universities, take Estonian Biobank, trust in the universities that the data is used for bona fide research purposes in the well-protected areas, but together with companies, I think this is one of the very important opportunities. The innovation, how it goes, all these large language models, we have seen now what Chinese have claimed to be doing with the less resources. And the beauty of this academic research many times is that how to do more with less. Yes, we still say that we don't have enough resources, and this is part of the problem, but still we are trying to be innovative in this, producing more with less. Anyway, this is a beautiful discussion around the glass of wine, and or the question to everybody in the panel that I hope that we will set up soon as well. One more? And let's make it last now.
Hi. Y Combinator Accelerator has a list of requests for ideas or requests for companies that could apply to them. And does University of Tartu have topics that they are interested in collaboration with companies listed somewhere or something like that?
There are these different, somebody would need to help me. So there are different ways. One adapter is vice versa, that companies approach university, does anybody know on this topic or want to collaborate? Telling everything in single portal, that everything that our researchers would be interested or capable of helping in research is a task AI has not solved yet. So, because the academic researchers are collaborating on many topics, sometimes they have ideas that they have not yet crystallized even. You can't put that, oh, I have these ideas and immediately companies should come and talk to me. But this is actually one of the questions I also would like to ask from the panel. Everybody think about that. Who should initiate these collaborations? What is the initialization spark for these questions? Our university employees are all listed on the public websites. You can look up every name. You can look up everybody's CVs publicly. You can look at everything that they have published previously. You can see everything related to their public part of the knowledge. And this is also part of the asymmetry, that companies do not list everybody in their teams. He or she knows this and this and this and is professional in that area. Universities have all these public CVs, Google Scholars publishing all the publications. So I bet that often it's much more happens in this way, that companies also attend conferences, they see interesting talks, and they go and talk to these people direct. They can look at the publishing, but basically databases. They identify people who are thought leaders in their areas, and they come to talk to those people. Okay, in the list, how much are we behind the time? Nobody told me. Elena and Ardi, please.
Just grab the mics. Yeah.
Elena and Ardi are two of the team of 5. Meelis is also. You don't want to come in front? No? Okay.
He's comfortable there. So we have observed today, listened from the majority of the talks and the questions that were asked, that data science, data modeling, and understanding data is actually a crucial thing that is going through very different industries. We talk about research, we talk about government, we talk about finance sector or medicine. It's everywhere. And so it's not only our observations, research has shown it as well. In Estonia, for example, OSKA Center for Research have identified that it's really needed to upscale people in every domain. And so this is where we have came up with the idea of creating a textbook in Estonian. By this time, we were really lacking comprehensive kind of, how do you call it in English? Full, complex view for the data science, on the data science from the practical perspective that anyone would take and start learning about this.
Yeah. I think the idea is that it's from the beginning, from the basics to the end.
comprehensive.
There is an end.
There is no end, but it cuts off somewhere end of 2024.
So that's why we are really happy to introduce this digital textbook for Estonian universities called Praktiline andmeteadus, practical data science. And as Estonia is a digital first country, our book is also digital first and it's free. So what it has actually, inside what it offers is it's a comprehensive view on the data science. We start from the understanding of data fundamentals, how to think about data. Then we move to various types of analysis, to data modeling, and then we end up with the deployment of these solutions, of the model solutions. And the focus here is on rather bringing the practical point of view over the theoretical complexity. I don't know how many of you have seen the book, but if you have downloaded it already and just look through this, then you would see that this is the aspect, this is the one thing that we wanted to stress. Okay, Ardi has a printout of the book in here.
You can look through it. Unfortunately, cannot be bought at this point, but we're thinking about it.
It's digital first.
It's digital first.
Free,
download it.
Open source, digital first book.
Okay, thank you. So who is it for? It is written in their kõrgkooli õpik, so university level textbook. So primarily, we thought about this book as a first contact with data science for actually anyone. We have said it's university level, higher education level textbook, but anyone also in the adjacent fields who has, for example, studied IT without the data science component, or who has studied even statistics but would want to know about the LLMs and all of the things that nowadays are called data science. It's also suitable for these professionals. And finally, data science is so pervasive these days that also business leaders who don't want to fall behind, who want to know something about data science, just to know what's going on, could read this book. It starts, as we said, from data fundamentals. It starts from the basics. It can be your first contact with data science.
I would say that it's also important for the business leaders from the perspective of being, I don't know, say a smart buyer. So basically you would understand what type of projects would be suitable for the specific, to solve specific problem. And then you would assess it from the beginning. And I hope that, that it would increase actually the number of successful POCs that I've mentioned before. So when we know this complex picture and we can understand it, we can think and make educated decisions about this, this will increase the success of such progress for sure. So one more, so the value that I would say that this book brings is that it's built based on the case studies. We provide substantial case studies. This is one key feature. It's how adults learn actually. So it's easier to go through case study and understand what's the problem, how it has been solved, what are the challenges there, what are the pitfalls, and we explore all of this in these examples. Additionally, we with Ardi are, how do you call it, we have this grandparent syndrome from the early age, teaching a lot of courses, not only from the university, not at the like higher university level, but also we do a lot of continuous education. And from there we've seen a lot of pain when people have to install different environments, you know, like resolve different dependencies in Python and things like that. So what we did, we went with Google collaborator environments where all the practical exercises are represented there. So you just don't need to install anything on your computer, just go and run the code in there. And if you are lacking a compute power on your local machine, then you can add it there in the Google Collaboratory. Move on, yeah. Yeah, and we got quite a lot of media coverage. So we made a press release on the 8th of January. And then Postimees has published an article about us, Õpetajate Leht. We got noticed by the ETL and by Nortal. We got a lot of feedback from the colleagues from different sectors, from the industry, from our university colleagues, and from other educators as well. Okay, and wait, guess how many downloads did we have? Okay, somebody else offer? 10,000. 15,000. Very optimistic, right?
I think we haven't done good enough.
we have room for improvement.
We should have an auction.
Room for improvement.
We have room for improvement, yes. So it was, but we appreciate that you believe in us. So the number was actually, so it was the beginning of the week, maybe it grew. It has 5,973 downloads. Yes, so.
If we believe that half of these are unique, then we have had good impact, I think.
Yes.
If they read the book.
Yes. And of course, so here where you can download it, you can scan the barcode or just go to our courses, it says UTE, and search for andmeteadus, Praktiline andmeteadus.
And give us, there is also a sub-page to submit the mistakes that you find. So help us improve. It was updated today, considering all of the things that we have heard from the audience already. So keep giving us feedback.
The book is really living its life, and we are receiving so we got comments, and we take your feedback to account. So please, if you find something, or if you want to share that you like the book, write us and tell us. But the book is, what I want to say is that this would not be possible without our dear reviewers, definitely, and our language editor and designers and all support team. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The book has been released. I hope that this will earn some prizes as well. But we will move on to the next phase where our state authority has some authoritative prizes to hand out.
So, testing. So I'm going to give the honors actually to Karel, who has been leading. So I'm just going to give out the prizes itself. But the story itself goes that we want to support the economy as a whole, and Karel can take over.
Hi, good evening. My name is Karel Sepp. I'm from the Ministry of Justice and Digital Affairs. First of all, I would like to thank all of the presenters for very interesting presentations and discussions. Moving on, at the end of last year, we held a public idea contest for the development of the data economy in Estonia. It was the first time we ran such a competition, and I am very pleased with the results because we had a number of very interesting initiatives from private citizens, from the public sector, and from academia, so very much in line with all of the discussions here today. So without further ado, I would like to ask all of the participants who were able to make it here today to join me here on stage to accept a small token of our gratitude. I have to excuse myself. I will read the list of names because I don't have them memorized, but please welcome, if you're in the building, Anniki Puura, Sille Sepp, Anastasia Nikoforova, Pille Muni, Risto Raun, Rait Põlendik, Jaan Õmblus, Jako Stein, and Toivo Ellakvere.
So now it's the difficult part. I'm going to try to match the boxes itself. Like that.
And I also see Jaak staying at the back there. I will bring your token of gratitude there later. Now moving on to the actual winners. Yeah, thank you. Moving on to the actual winners, the main prize of the competition is the help of the ministry to actually realize these projects. We evaluated with our committee all of these projects carefully, and I'm very happy to announce that we could not pick out a single greatest idea ever. So today, I'm very happy to announce that we will be moving on with 2 projects. First of them comes from the Finnish Center for Smart Cities, excuse me, with the idea to pilot the functionalities of a personal data space. So a big round of applause for Silla. And the second prize goes to Jaak Stein at the back there from the municipality of Tallinn with the idea to expand the accessibility information system of Tallinn nationwide. And I will now hand it over to the actual winners to describe their ideas in just a couple of sentences. And if you could get the microphone to the back there as well. Thank you.
Should I start?
Shoot.
All right, thank you. And of course, thank you for picking this idea, and thank you also for organizing such an idea contest to really try to find new ideas how to actually develop data economy further in Estonia. Our idea was actually to tackle some of the aspects of sharing data also by engaging individuals into this setting. And more concretely, that would mean to develop functionalities besides the portfolio of services that the government already has in terms of the consent management service and data tracker, to allow then and enable citizens and individuals to request data also about them from other sectors and other organizations, by also then requesting the data and also sharing that to third parties. Now, that kind of functionality right away doesn't mean that that data would be immediately used and delivered, new services would be delivered, but it creates that infrastructure, that basis to actually foster such a data use. And we know all that, we can only get value out of data when we use that. So that's kind of the idea. I can also say that probably the main challenge around this is not technical, but we will have to address many of the challenges discussed already today. Also, how to overcome the aspects of actually having those incentives to share data and to use it and to get the value out of it. Of course, also that the legislative environment actually supports that. So the project hopefully will help to test it, find the challenges, and of course also find smart ways how to overcome those challenges. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And our idea was, actually we have in Tallinn this accessibility portal, which is like a tool for people in special needs and people who are entrepreneurs, and then municipality people who can improve the accessibility of their own municipality, or purpose is to get the people from one place to other more easy. So we have mapped there over 3,000 objects, and then there are also 5 models and the instructions how to map and improve the accessibility. And our dream is to expand all over Estonia, include our municipalities, state institution, and entrepreneurs who can get the profit of it, and And the main goal is to improve accessibility to our people who have right to live their own lives. Yeah. And thanks for choosing it. I hope we can improve the life of our people.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. By looking at the time, we have just finished our panel discussion, but I would like to invite all of you guys, everybody who was presenting, just briefly in here. We will not do 25 minutes as was promised, but maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Let's not take even the chairs. We can stand. We can stand. Young man, we need to stretch a little bit. You need to hear us before you can stretch. I have one question. What is a key take-home message for you from today, and how do you initiate the next project?
Oh, I can be the first. Okay. I think I had all those new ideas already when I was preparing for this event, and analyzing and synthesizing the work we have done so far with our partners in academia and the industry, and I understood that actually there's loads more to be done, and we need to be much more active ourselves. I think it was you who asked who should make the first step in this process, and I don't think there's a right answer, but I think the first step needs to be taken by those who have the strongest need, and then quite often we have those pressing needs, and we don't have the expertise or other means, and then we would need to look outside our own organization, and it's not just about the money. Quite often it's maybe also other things, and so yeah, my takeaway is just keep our senses open, and not to forget our partners in other sectors as well. Yeah, thank you. And also I wanted to thank those people behind the book or textbook. I noticed it on social media a couple of weeks ago, and I already asked our colleagues to put it in our intranet where we have this self-study kind of environment, so it's already up there, so thank you.
So with these counter you have to add that counter to the number.
Well, thanks. The takeaway of today, I would say cooperation needs trust. Building trust takes time. And joint events like tonight, we have to have them more. Universities and private sector and government meets, because at the end of the day, we are humans. And I must say, I've been trying to cooperate with, and probably university as well, to cooperate with me, with my company. And we have had several attempts, and not successful ones, but each of the trial has been teaching ourselves, and nowadays we have this project we talked about. We do guide master student with his thesis, and we have several new ideas in pipeline. It is different because if we move from private sector university, the tempo is different, but it's much more deeper. So you can't just fly over and take all the good ideas and read all those good CVs. We just don't have time. But we need to have a glass of wine, some good talks, some hangovers, and then we have some good ideas. So this is my takeover.
Water down the depth.
My maybe few takeaways are actually answers to some questions that I later thought about. So first question was that who should pay for the cooperation, and maybe it would be best if the customer would pay it. And in that sense, Priit's example was a good one, that together, I don't know if Heba is the customer there or the end users will be the customers, but at least someone who wants a usable solution, and the creation of that needs both academic side and then the implementation.
Government is paying.
So, okay, government is paying, but so that goes to
Triple-Helix.
Yeah, Triple-Helix. Yes. But anyway, it is someone who wants a concrete solution that needs skills from both sides, and then maybe a little bit pushes for the cooperation. We have similar examples also from a totally different environmental area where we have customers pushing for projects like that. And I would also like to say that there was a question about if Googles and others would do the research. I think that the universities should do the research. We should not rely on companies. If companies get that big that they can do R&D themselves, then they should be split up, because then at that point they're monopolies and squeezing too much money out of their customers. I mean, seriously, the competition is something that the government should look for or regulate in the market. Yeah, so thank you.
So I'm going to do it brief. So first of all, I think such events, as Priit mentioned as well, are spot on. Already today, just during Priit's presentation, it was like why we haven't actually discussed collaboration in terms of consent service, why we haven't implemented. So such events are great for experience sharing, but I think we should, as a takeaway, actually extend and share the best practices that we have had, but also failures, so we can learn in both private sector, in academia, in the government a lot more. So I think we should scale up. I think this is a great kind of initiative, and Jaak, thank you for hosting us.
This is the 39th time we do this. We should
scale
up.
Hosting us.
Yes, thank you.
First
thank
time.
you for this. Yeah, we are bad at taking compliments. Thank you. Thanks. So yeah, this is what we try to make happen, and we would be happy if somebody's looking at the videos at the moment. So anybody having idea, the topics that need to be discussed, we are happy to take the new ideas. We have been running 5-6 times per year, so roughly bi-monthly frequency. And as I said in the beginning, every time we do this together with the companies, every time. But yes, and
hopefully next time with the government as well.
Yeah, well, government is like when we talked about secondary use of health data last year. It was all. I think half of the people were from the different states.
Yeah, it takes 3 to dance tango,
yeah,
not 2.
Absolutely. So yeah, this morning I was in Tallinn, and we were teaching about 50 people from the Ministry of Social Affairs, different agencies, hospitals, about secondary use of health data. So yes, we need the third partner as well in there. Okay, but I think it has been quite a long evening. As I promised, there must be food and drinks outside there. So we have deserved that. We cashed up a little bit of time with this slightly shorter panel. So thank you for being dynamic on this. And I would also like to announce 2 things. First, the next meeting probably will be about language models and these sign languages, and we will have that meeting. Did we have the date settled? Preliminary date is March 19th, so preliminary date is March 19th. You can mark your calendars. We will announce soon. Many of you tick the box that you want to get new information. You will get that. And secondly, thank you everybody who helped to organize this evening. It's not me. Thank you for the preparation crew in here in the long evening. Thank let's thank everybody. And now the meeting is over and we can enjoy the networking part.